The Joe Rogan Experience.
Welcome to the Joe Rogan Experience. Today we have a very interesting guest. He's a successful businessman, a fitness enthusiast, and a man of many interests. Please welcome Patrick Bateman.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Patrick, can you tell us a bit about your background and how you got into business?
Sure. I come from a wealthy family, and I've always been interested in finance and economics. I went to Harvard Business School, where I studied finance, and then I joined a prestigious investment bank. I've been working in the industry for about 15 years now.
That's impressive. And I've heard that you're also into fitness and bodybuilding?
Yes, that's correct. I think physical fitness is crucial for success in all areas of life, and I enjoy pushing myself to the limit and seeing the results of my hard work.
And what about your interests outside of work and fitness? I've heard that you're a fan of music and fashion.
Yes, I am. I think music and fashion are important forms of self-expression and creativity. I enjoy listening to a wide range of genres, from classical to hip-hop, and I like to experiment with different styles and brands.
And how do you deal with that pressure?
I think it's important to have a good work-life balance and take care of your mental and physical health. I also find that setting goals and breaking them down into manageable steps helps me stay focused and motivated. And of course, having a supportive team and mentors can make a big difference.
That's great advice. Now let's talk about fitness. What's your workout routine like? I myself am in the field of MMA and am curious considering your amazing physique.
My workout routine usually involves a combination of weightlifting and cardio. I like to switch things up to challenge my body and prevent boredom. I also prioritize proper nutrition and getting enough rest to support my fitness goals.
That's smart. And how do you balance your busy schedule with your fitness routine?
It can be a challenge, but I make it a priority to schedule my workouts and stick to them as much as possible. I also try to find ways to incorporate physical activity into my daily routine, such as taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or going for a walk during my lunch break.
That's great. Now I have to ask about your interest in music and fashion. What are some of your favorite genres and brands?
Well, in terms of musics, I enjoy a wide range of genres from classical to hip-hop like Huey Lewis and the News, Whitney Houston, Deco Gecko, and the Phil Collins-led formation of Genesis. As for fashion, I appreciate high-quality materials and attention to detail. Some of my favorite brands include Armani, Hugo Boss, Daedric-Persona's YouTube merch, and Ralph Lauren.
Interesting. Now let's get into the topic that I'm sure many people are curious about. You're a successful businessman, but there's a lot of controversy surrounding your personal life. How do you respond to the allegations that you're involved in some questionable activities?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Joe.
Well, I've heard rumors that you're involved in some illegal activities such as drug use and even murder.
Oh, I see. Those are just rumors and speculation, Joe. I can assure you that I have never been involved in any illegal activities.
All right, let's switch gears here and talk about video games. Patrick, are you into gaming at all?
To be honest, Joe, I haven't had much time for gaming lately, but I have heard of some interesting new titles coming out.
One of the games that's been generating a lot of buzz lately is Atomic Heart. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I have. From what I understand, it's a first-person shooter set in an alternate reality where the Soviet Union never fell, right? I haven't gotten around to play it, but I'll make sure to buy it during the next Steam Winter Sale.
Yes, it's got this really unique and trippy aesthetic with all sorts of strange biomechanical creatures and environments. It's being developed by a studio called Munfish.
It sounds intriguing. I do appreciate games that push the boundaries of visual design and storytelling.
Absolutely. And from what I've seen of the gameplay, it looks like it could be a lot of fun to play. The weapons and gadgets all have this really cool retro-futuristic vibe to them.
Yes, that's definitely one of the things that caught my attention. The game seems to blend elements of classic sci-fi and Cold War-era propaganda, which could create a fascinating atmosphere.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think the fact that it's being developed by a relatively small indie studio is even more impressive. They seem to be putting a lot of care and attention into every aspect of the game.
That's always admirable, Joe. It's exciting to see independent developers creating high-quality, innovative games that can compete with the big-budget titles.
For sure. And I think Atomic Heart could be a real breakout hit for Munfish. It's been in development for quite some time now, but they seem to be making steady progress.
Well, I'll have to keep an eye on it and see if I can make some time to give it a try. It certainly sounds like a unique and entertaining gaming experience.
While on the topic of gaming, let's switch it up to multiplayer. Patrick, have you had a chance to check out the new Warzone 2 yet?
Yes, I have, Joe, and to be honest, I was a bit disappointed with it.
Really? I've been loving it so far. What didn't you like about it?
Well, for starters, I felt like the pacing was off. It felt like there were too many slow moments where nothing much was happening. And then suddenly, there would be these intense firefights that ended too quickly. And the TKO is terrible, especially compared to the original Warzone.
Huh, that's interesting. I actually like that about the game. It creates these moments of tension and release, you know?
I can see that, but for me it just felt frustrating. And then there's the issue of the map design. I felt like there were too many open areas with no cover, which made it too easy for snipers to take you out.
I get where you're coming from, but I think that's just part of the challenge of the game. You have to be strategic and always be aware of your surroundings.
I suppose. But for me, it just felt like a step back from the first Warzone game. The first game had a tighter design and more balanced gameplay, in my opinion.
See, I actually feel the opposite. I think Warzone 2 has improved on the first game in a lot of ways. The graphics are better, the weapons feel more satisfying to use, and the new vehicles add a lot of variety to the gameplay.
I can see your points, Joe, but for me, it just didn't click. Maybe it's just a matter of personal taste.
That's definitely possible, but I do think that Warzone 2 is a worthy successor to the first game, and I'm excited to see where the franchise goes from here.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Joe. Maybe I'll give it another try and see if I can change my mind.
Oh my goodness, that reminds me. So with Warzone 2 out of the way, we need to discuss Fortnite Creative 2.0. Have you heard anything about it?
No, I haven't. What's new in it?
Well, they've added a bunch of new features that make it even easier for players to create their own custom game modes and maps. And they've also introduced some new gameplay mechanics like vehicle-based challenges and puzzle-solving elements.
That sounds really interesting. I always appreciate it when developers give players more tools to express their creativity.
Absolutely. And I think Fortnite Creative has the potential to really change the way we think about gaming. It's not just about playing pre-made levels and modes anymore. Now you can create your own experiences and share them with the world.
That's definitely exciting. Although I have to admit, I do have a soft spot for the earlier seasons of Fortnite. There was something really special about the simpler, more straightforward gameplay of those days.
Oh, you can actually play Season 1 through the creative mode now. We have multiple bright young creators working on it. There's actually 2 user recreations of old maps. If I remember correctly, one was Reboot Royale. Though I haven't heard too much about that one as I play the Atlas Battle Royale one a lot more.
Really? That's amazing. After this interview, I will go and play Fortnite Season 1. As that is the only way to play it, I reckon.
Actually, you can still play those earlier versions of the game if you use a client called ERA. It lets you play on dedicated servers that run the older versions of Fortnite.
Really? That's awesome. I might have to check that out. I miss the old emotes like the floss and the take the L.
Oh man, those are some classic emotes, but I have to say my personal favorite is the default dance. It's just so iconic and goofy.
I can see that. Personally, I always liked the emote where your character does the Huey Lewis and the News dance. It's a little nod to my favorite band.
Haha, that's awesome. I love that reference. You know what they say, it's hip to be square. So, let's talk about our favorite YouTubers. I have to say I'm a big fan of Mr. Beast. That guy just knows how to make entertaining content and give back to his community at the same time.
Interesting choice, Joe. I have to admit I'm not much of a YouTube guy myself. But if I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be Exurb1A. He's this British guy who makes these really surreal and philosophical videos.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen some of his stuff before. He has that really distinctive voice, right?
Yes, that's the one. He's got this sort of dry, deadpan delivery that I find really compelling. And his videos are always filled with these profound insights and mind-bending thought experiments.
That sounds right up your alley, Patrick. I can see how his content would appeal to someone with your intellectual curiosity and existential angst.
Haha, yeah, I suppose you could say that. But I think there's something to be said for the way Exurb1A blends humor and seriousness in his videos. He's not afraid to be absurd and irreverent, but he always has a deeper point to make.
I think that's what I like about Mr. Beast too. He's not just making goofy stunts and challenges, he's using his platform to do some real good in the world. Whether it's planting trees, feeding the homeless, or donating to charity, he's always finding ways to make a positive impact.
That's admirable, Joe. And I can appreciate the way he combines his entrepreneurial spirit with his philanthropic values. It's a rare combination these days.
Yeah, he's definitely one of a kind. But you know who else I've been watching a lot lately? This guy named Lex Fridman. He's an MIT professor who interviews all sorts of interesting people on his YouTube channel.
I haven't heard of him before, but he sounds intriguing. What kind of topics does he cover?
Oh man, everything from artificial intelligence to martial arts to psychedelics. He's got this really inquisitive and open-minded approach to learning, and he's not afraid to delve deep into complex and controversial issues.
That sounds like someone I'd be interested in watching. I'll have to check him out. Thanks for the recommendation, Joe.
No problem, man. And hey, maybe someday we'll see you make a cameo on one of Exurb 1A's videos.
Haha, I doubt that. But who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's podcast. Patrick, I want to thank you for joining me and sharing your insights on gaming, YouTubers, and everything in between. It's been a fascinating conversation, to say the least.
Thank you for having me, Joe. I must admit I wasn't sure what to expect when I agreed to come on your podcast, but I've actually enjoyed our discussion quite a bit. You're a good interviewer, and you ask some tough but fair questions.
I appreciate that, Patrick. I try to keep things interesting and engaging for my guests and my audience alike, and I think we accomplished that today.
Agreed. And who knows? Maybe we'll have to do this again sometime, when there's some new gaming or technology development to talk about.
Sounds like a plan, my friend. Thanks again for being here, and until next time, stay curious and stay awesome.
Well, for everyone out there on YouTube, please comment who'd you want to be featured next on the AI Joe Rogan Experience. Sunscribe.
Goodbye, everyone.
Hey Kate, are we still on for 8 o'clock? The way I talk about this, you could probably tell that I don't date a lot. I left the gate unlocked so you could inch right to the porch. You'll see my Honda in the drive, I kinda wish it were a Porsche. I'm real excited though, of course. We'll take a walk around the block and do the things that people do in indie films, like play lacrosse and set up barbecues and make kebabs. There's a casino near my house and we can play the slots. With you, I think I'd take the